Hello, welcome to another episode of Mystery Stamping. And today I have a cute card, and I say that I know every time. But today we are working on a very simple card. There's a few extra steps with my card, and I'm going to give a couple different ideas on how you could use this card pattern to make different cards so that you could use the same pattern over and over, but changing out your elements to make it where they're all a little bit different. So we'll get started. So today our card base is a 4¼ by 11, and it's scored at 5½, and that's thick basic white. And on I have a couple samples that are they are of the colored cardstock instead of the thick white. And then it says can be thick or use a background or any color. Thick and use a background or any color and add optional DSP. That's what I'm trying to say. And then coordinating cardstock, I have a piece of black here, and it is a 3 by 3. It could be any color. And then I have a piece here that's a 1/2 inch by 4¼ And then I have two right now, but that's just in case I make an error. So I'm going to put one up here, and the other one is 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. And then you can have an optional scrap piece for a sentiment, and on one of the cards I show that, but for this card I don't need that. And then 3½ by 5 for the inside of using a I think it's supposed to say if using a colored base. But so for this one I'm not doing the inside. I have insides cut for my other cards that I have to show, but I don't have them put in there yet. And then designer series paper, 4 by 5¼ This is optional if you're using the colored base. If you're using white, you can still use the DSP, or you can do your stamping of your background. And then die cut pieces or embellishments for your card if you want them. So on this one, I'm not doing a die cut, but on the other samples, I did a die cut. So everything that I listed, I did each of those things. And so on this card, I'm doing the bare minimum, and on the others, I stepped them up a bit. So you'll understand whenever we do this card and then I show you the samples. So we'll get started here. Move that over and out of the way. So I am bringing in the stamp set, and this is one that just went live, I believe, on Tuesday, and it's the Simply Zinnias. I'm a little tongue-tied today. I like the images in this. I like the sayings. I love whenever they do fonts that are two different fonts. And so that's the stamp set that we'll be using. And so I have what stamps I'm using in this little tray here. And then because this is a lined image, I do have a few Stampin' Right markers, which all of you know that if when you're making your mystery card, that if you do choose a lined image, you always have the option to add markers to that. And so I'm going to set those off to the side, because right down here I put let's see, ink, Stampin' blends if needed. Use black memento for blends. So I always give that information in the optional stuff at the bottom. And then I'm bringing in Flirty Flamingo ink, Pumpkin Pie ink, and the memento. I have some dimensionals here, and I might use some of these rainbow adhesive back dots. So that's a few of the things that I'm going to use. I'll set this over to the side. And just because I already had this in this little thing here, I still have my Stamparatus that we used to sell, but we don't sell one of those anymore, and this is a little bit smaller, so I chose to go with a smaller platform of stamping just because it's a large image and I wanted to get it fairly straight and on my little piece here. And so this is the Misty by Sweet Petunia. So that's what I'm going to use for part of my stamping. And then these items here, I'll just do normal. And then I have this little thing here that you rub over your Misty or your Stamparatus, and it helps to get the whole thing even. So I have that. And I do have some Versamark ink and some black embossing powder. And so it is a simple card, but there are several elements to it, but they're not hard. So I'll set this over here to the side for right now. And then I'm going to bring in this little piece here. It's a bit messy, but it'll be fine. So I'm going to set this off to the side. Get off my station here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my thick basic white, and I'm going to fold it on that score line, lining up my edges. Like that. And find my bone folder here. And then crease. Okay, so I'm not using DSP today, so I want a background. And I'm just going to lay this on here like that. And then open my ink. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a... Didn't wet down my chamois, so I'll grab a baby wipe because I'm going to need it. Sit it right here for now. All right. So I'm going to do pumpkin pie first. If I can get it open. There. It's fighting with me. I'm going to use the larger image. That's this little image right here of the flower, and then this multi-image we're going to use for our focal point. So I'm just going to ink this up, and I want to make certain I keep moving it around my ink pad because I think the ink sometimes pools. And then I'm going to stamp. Stamp, and then I'm going to turn it a little bit. Okay, I'm going to clean this up. Close this ink here. Put some chapstick on that to or Vaseline or something to get that where it'll open and close easier. So now I'm going to go back with my Flirty Flamingo. Stamp my image. Fill in some of these other spots. Like that. So that's my background. So if you got DSP, you'd be adding it to the front now. And if you're doing a background, then you'd be stamping that now. Okay, so there is my backgrounds. Move this over here to the side. All right, so finished with that right now. So I want to lay that up there. This out of the way. And then I'm going to bring this in. And this 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 basic white. Add that there. And you can stamp directly, but I want this one. I may have to re-ink this, so I did not want to chance getting it right the first time. So there. Bring in my memento. This one lays a little flatter than our other one, than the one Stampin' Up had. I just want to ink this up. Trying to get an even coverage without blobs. I bought these off of Amazon as a 2-pack. Can add that. Try to find that link on my Amazon and add that at the bottom in the description. But it helps to make certain you get good coverage. And there's my image. I put this little piece of paper in there so it doesn't completely ink up everything. All right, so there's that. Need that to dry just a moment so that, whoops. So you'd be stamping your focal image or die cutting your focal image to put on your 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 basic white square here. All right, so now then I'm going to color mine in. I'm going to try to do as quickly as possible. And so this is one of those sets that it's very forgiving, and I'm just going to go through and add pumpkin pie to the centers of my flowers. And I didn't even make certain that it was just in the center. I just swirled it around. And then with the Flirty Flamingo, I'm just going to go around the outside edge. Like whenever you color, I outline everything first and then color the inside. I'm using crayons, so I'm doing that with my blends. It doesn't have to be perfect by no means. If I find where I didn't have it quite up to the edge, I can go back and fill that in. See, I'm going to come back to this shortly. I'll let that dry just a little bit, and then I'm going to try to add a little bit more depth to it. Just going to go around the edge of this one. This one's more, a little bit more of the a shot of it from the edge. But that one's more straight on. And so you've got more of the little jagged petals here. But these are quick images to fill in. Some people look at the stamp set and they think that it's a little intimidating because it looks like a lot of coloring, but it's fairly quick coloring to me. I've so many times not done a technique or not done a fun fold or something because it's like, oh, that looks really hard. And then when I do it, I'm like, why did I wait so long? It's just, I let my own thoughts, I guess, keep me from trying it. And then once I tried, I'm like, well, that was easy. Same way with different stamp sets. Oh, that's a lot of die cuts. There we go. So now then, I'm going to come back to this one. And I'm going to just from the center, and I'm just kind of trying to come from the center out. Just, it's the same color. I'm just adding more of it. And I'm not even doing it right on the petals. I'm just coloring back and forth, trying to add depth in the center. Okay. I have a collar lifter here. I'm going to go around the outside edge just to try to lighten that just a little bit. And that was, like I said, that was just one color of marker. And that was the dark one. Yep, dark pumpkin pie and dark flirty flamingo. Okay, now then I have our, I think it's Parakeet Party. Yes, I'm pretty certain that these are they will be retiring in the end of April. And so if there are any of these in colors that you would like to have, now would probably be the time to like get your paper or your ink refills. It'll be retiring. You never know, they may bring them back later, but for right now they will be retiring. And so I'm just adding some dark in the key places where they put the already did the little hash marks to let you know where to shade. And I'll bring in my light one and just fill it in. It's a fairly quick. I'm going to show you something else I do to make the image stand out. Okay, so I pretty much have that, and you can see light and dark in the leaves. So I'm going to show you my little trick for images like this. This looks nice, but I want to make it look more 3D, I guess, instead of just on the paper. So there's some techniques in with this mystery today. So this is a dark pool party. You can do light, you can do any blue that you want, and I'm just going to outline right on the line. Around my image. Some bits, like right there, will get completely filled in by doing that, and that's fine. And if I happen to go into my other colors, it does not show up like you would think that it would. But I just try to be right on that line and let it kind of blend out to the outside of the line. Okay, so I'm going to show this. Here are this flower, and these leaves that I've already done, and then those. That makes it pop out a little bit more and give it more depth. So I'm going to finish this off. I used to think this was super hard. When I tried it before, I'm like, that looks messy, but after it dried and blended out a little bit, and where it's not really dipped too much, I just kind of go over the tip of it. I don't even necessarily go each petal. So right here where it's jaggedy, I do. And so there's that. And then as it dries, it'll lighten up that blue, but that gives it more of a more depth. All right, so now we can put our card together. I'm going to add glue to the back of my image. I use from the corner out, and I do around the outside edge. Go. I'll flip that over, and the dimensionals, pardon me, I'm going to add 5 because it's a fairly large square. And you can make your focal image, you could do smaller. You can't really go too much larger, but you could always go smaller. So you can make this pattern work just with little bit of different dimensions. So I'll bring this in. Pretty good. So there's that so far. I'll bring in my Wink of Stella. And I'm going to go ahead and add it to the whole thing. And a another trick. I'll show you here in a moment. I want the majority of the glimmer in the middle. Is if you do outline and say, this up here, I didn't like how it was out too far. I can always use my lifter and kind of blend it out just a little bit and lighten it just a little bit. Now it's wet, so it'll be a little bit darker at the moment. Okay, so now then, I'm going to bring in my embossing buddy. Just tap it around down here. Bring in this Versamark ink. And I have Thank You So Much. I have one that says Sending Flowers. It says Sending Flowers and Thinking of You. So I'm going to clean this up. Let's see about, I haven't tried embossing this fine one. So I'm hoping not to mess this up. But if I do, I can add it to another piece. So I'm just inking this up in Versamark. It's a little bit longer, so I'm going to make certain I get the whole length. I want to put it straight across here. Hopefully straight. See how it looks when we heat emboss it. I'll turn my heat down on high. That. There it is. So I can take a tissue now. I can give it a chance to dry, to cool. You can buff that powder off your my black cardstock. There's that. I'm going to open this up. I'll take, that this one here. silicone mat down and bring in my orange, my pumpkin pie. Just adding some image to it, so it's not just a piece of colored cardstock. So I'm adding that background stamping to it. Now I'm gonna, that's the front. I'm gonna add a bead of glue. I find if I put it directly on this and stay from the edges, then bring my DSP or my cardstock piece in, add it, that I do a much better job of not over gluing. So there is our card. So there it is. That's the inside, and then you can stamp whatever sentiment you wish. So this is one card with a little focal image. So I'll bring in my samples. So we have solved the mystery. And then I have this one where I used a darker background, and then the DSP, and then my focal image, and I glued these down and then popped that one up, and then stamp my greeting across there. And then I have this one that is a lighter background, and then my DSP, stamped this on a piece of scrap, and then added my piece here, and it overlaps here at the top, and then I popped this one up on dimensionals. And then here's the one that I made before, like this one, and I did thank you so much and did the heat embossing there. So I'm going to move these down and bring this in and maybe add a little bit more to the card. So I have these. I could do the brass butterflies too to this. So there it is with colored embellishments. We will add the brass butterflies. To this one. So there's that one, and then there's this one, and then two others. So I end up bringing in all of the elements that I listed on the clues, but I did them on different cards. So there you go. So I hope you give this a try and come up with several different ones. You could do it as a side, as a landscape. Just change your imagery around and put your greeting down here. So there you go. Thank you for joining me for another mystery stamp. Happy stamping. Bye-bye.